Hey guys, and welcome to 20s in Transit with
Zhenia,
Nourhan,
Kim,
Yasmin,
Rachel. Enjoy.
Welcome back to 20s in Transit, guys. Thank you for tuning in once again. Today's episode, you already know all the voices that you're going to be hearing. So I'm Nourhan.
I'm Zhenia. You heard me on the last episode, and I'm back.
and it's Kim back for the hat trick.
Today we're going to be diving in a little bit on, well, today's episode's called Am I Interesting Enough? And I think it's really quite topical for your 20s to constantly feel the pressure to like keep doing more. Just like in between of like, are you really living your best life? Or are you just watching everyone else succeed as you
I
like,
think it's a bit
stand?
of like a deep topic if you think about it, like more.
So yeah, I guess I just want to start off a bit with comparison culture, because I feel like having an interesting life is a bit of a loaded concept, and I'm not too sure if it actually makes you happier if we just do all these things so that we look cool online.
Well, I think it depends why you're doing things. So obviously now in this digital age, if you want to label it that, obviously you want to post and that's how you keep in touch. So I have friends that I don't see in many years that live on and like different continents and things like that. So that's the way they know what's going on in my life, through social media, through the internet. But I can't really say that I do things just to post them. You know, I do them because I want to. And then if I happen to post them because I like it so much, that's quite different. But I know other people, they're completely opposite. So.
I think image is such a big thing now, especially with the rise of TikTok and all of these other social media engines that kind of have this, they uphold this expectation of you living a life that is broadcast. It's not just lived, but it becomes a display for everybody else. And if there's any hint of you not being able to broadcast that, then you face the ideas that come with it. Like a lot of people nowadays make their living off of just displaying their lives on TikTok. Like Get Ready With Me is plenty of influencers just go about their quotidian schedule, which might not be out of the ordinary, but it's kind of just pasted all over the internet for you to see and to interact with. So there's always like this spotlight on you. And I feel like that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, but my question is, are those real? Like, do, all those influencers and like even those, like you mentioned, like the Get Readies With Me, do people actually, is that what everyone's life actually looks like? Because I think it's so easy nowadays to put forward an image of yourself that might just not be quote unquote authentic, which at times isn't that problematic, but if you're advertising it as this is what my life actually looks like and it's not the case.
I think the issue is when your feed is just flooded with these like not necessarily perfect, because remember now what's marketable is what's authentic. So these like hyper productive, hyper positive, but still kind of down to earth, like Get Ready With Me, stay in lives. And then you start to kind of compare your daily routine to their daily routine that's scripted, filmed, edited.
Yeah.
And then there's like a weirdness there on what's good and what isn't.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that comes to mind is Nora Smith.
Oh my
you
God.
know, just her, is that a possible life? Because what do you mean my kids wanted a snack and 5 hours later I gave it to them? Like, I don't have children, but I don't think that's a really reasonable representation of motherhood.
I think my thing with her, honestly, is like a lot less to do with mother. I hate the dishes. So like every time.
They're like gluten-free, like vegan-free.
That's what gets me with every one of her videos is literally that I'm like, I can't imagine the amount of dishes that this woman has to wash. And I just don't think that's reasonable. I don't think it's sustainable to tell people that like, you could make every single part of your meal from scratch and it's like a doable lifestyle.
But the thing is, does she do her own dishes? That's the question. Because while she's in the kitchen cooking these, like, which I'm not like trying to shame or anything, but like I think there's definitely a part of her life that's not represented and visualized, because obviously when she's in the kitchen, she has 3 young children. what are they doing?
I hope Lucky's at the sink scrubbing away the whole
Oh
time.
yeah,
He
sure.
better be. I'm on like the opposite side where all I get is most of my content consists of in this genre, like the fitness
Mm.
TikTokers
God.
and then the fashion TikTokers, both of which are circles I vaguely ascribe to, but like I don't live my entire life by, and I think that's the image that they put out, and it seems so tiring and inauthentic when you think about it, because I put clothes on in the morning. I put thought into my outfits. I don't.
For listeners, I can attest that Kim is in fact wearing clothes right now.
Fully clothed in the booth, but I don't like. You see all these pictures of people recording their daily schedules, and it's very normal stuff, but the way in which you can imagine it being recorded is so funny to me, because the videos of people going to the gym or going to work, and you can see them getting in their car and then driving off, and you know that they then got out of their car
And took the
and-
phone with
and
them.
went and picked up their camera again from the driveway, or like they put it in the elevator. You can see them going down the elevator, and you can imagine them running up the stairs to pick up their phone.
Also,
the
I
next
feel like
minute.
that's not possible in London.
Like,
Your
I was
phone
about
will
to
be
say,
stolen.
like, you'll never see those kinds of videos in like central London. Like they'll film it on like zone 5, like when they're like
Yeah.
wheeling out of their house, like driving out of their house. But you're never gonna see them like just kind of put their phone down and like get on the tube and watch it
Yeah,
close.
no, Horrifies-
no, there's
horrifies
been.
me.
I always see those TikToks of like people doing fit checks in the tube, and I'm like, what tube station is this? One, why is there no one here? So this is probably like 4 a.m.
It's either 4 a.m. or no, it's still gonna be 4 a.m.
It's
on
still
the
gonna
other
be 4
side.
a.m. But I'm just like, why is your phone not stolen? And why is there no one here? Like, is this actual London, or is this like AI generated?
And that's the thing, is like you can be living in the same space as these people, but you feel like you're not living the same life. And I feel like that brings us on to the next bit quite nicely. Are we bad at being bored? Because I feel
Yeah.
like
I think I'm really
Oh,
bad
I'm
at
terrible.
being bored. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so bad.
I don't know what to do with myself. Like, I think if I don't have the busiest schedule ever where I just come home and crash, then I just have too much time on my hands. It's horrible because it's so fucking tiring, but we are swearing on
we're
this.
swearing.
Yeah, we're swearing. We're
It's
swearing.
episode 3. We've decided we're gonna keep swearing, guys. So just bear with us. But I think for me, what it is that it's like it's been very conditioned into me, because I did an insane amount of extracurriculars all throughout high school and middle school. I think at one point, like my peak, I used to do 11 extracurriculars on top. Like I did everything. If there was something I could sign up for, I signed up for it. And then coming to uni and like having like actual responsibilities in life rather than like living in my family, like in my family home and having my mom take care of literally everything. Suddenly, like, I am defeated so easily, guys.
Yeah.
Like,
Doing
just
groceries is so tiring. I'm
no,
sorry.
literally.
What?
And so then there's this like pressure to constantly be doing something, but I physically cannot do more than what I'm doing.
Well, also, I think because now we have to do, like you mentioned, so many things on our own, you're not going to post on your Instagram story that you went to the grocery store. Like, yeah, you can, but like,
Romanticize your life.
yeah, no, exactly. It's like people don't want to see daily things. People want to see all these like extraordinary things, all these like unique things, which is really hard when you still have to be a responsible human being 7 days a week, because I mean, not everyone can like go on an insane day trip every single day. So
I think it's impressive to make your living off of a TikTok, like a TikTok or another social media model that just markets a very normal life.
yeah.
But on some different, whether it's executed in a different sense or it's done on a different scale. Because I often try to figure out who engages with these often enough, like who's going about their day and consuming material of another person going about their day is what confuses me. I can fully understand watching influencers who create videos on vlogs. I can understand on some level, because it's this extended slice of life of somebody, but I can't consume short form content of somebody having breakfast.
Yeah.
That never made sense to me. And
I think that's why Nora Smith is so popular, because it's so outrageous. Like, for so many people,
But
it's so
normal.
outrageous, but she
the
markets
scale on
that
which she
as
does
normal.
it, yeah.
So people watch that and they're like, whoa, this is a different lifestyle. So I think people don't want to see a lifestyle that reflects their own. They want to see something so different, which may be unrealistic, though.
And I think that kind of stems as well from, like, I don't know about you guys, but if I ever have, like, because I only come into uni 3 days a week. Those 2 days that I'm not coming in, if I wake up at, like, 12-ish and I don't have anything, like, immediately planned for the day, I just instantly feel like slow mornings are not really a concept anymore. It's like you have to be hustling. You need to wake
be
up,
out and about.
go to Pilates, come back,
Yeah.
get a protein smoothie, go to the gym,
Yeah.
and then come back and then journal and then study for 2 hours and then go out with your friends and then come back.
It's the opposite of me. I'm happy to laze. I'm happy to laze for a bit because I get a lot of retroactive guilt when I don't do things. I had
Me
this like
too.
I had this long stretch in my life when I just wouldn't do anything. I'd play video games all day throughout the end of high school and slack off everything, and I'd feel terrible about it. I'd feel terrible about it afterwards. But like
Yeah, but in the moment you're happy.
in the matter of in the short term, I was completely complacent doing all of that. But now I've got a job. I'm at uni consistently, and I do work outside of it, and I have my own hobbies that I actually maintain consistently. So if I get up at 12 and I've got a bit of time, I'm happy to essentially do nothing for a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why for me it was really important to get a job in uni, because I remember my first year I had these stretches of time when I wouldn't have class and I'd feel so guilty that I'm in this big amazing city where there's so many things to do and I'm just sitting in my room doing nothing. So I think that was like a really tough like pill to swallow, and that's why I was like, okay, applying to all these jobs and going to all these galleries. So a lot of it was kind of me forcing myself to get out, and like I would enjoy doing these things, but I think the motivation behind it probably wasn't the healthiest.
It's a comparison thing, because now in this time you're kind of at this age especially, you're hit with this tirade online of people living these crazy lives and just always doing things, whether that's their high-end job or they seem to subsist on nothing and get by just living at fancy restaurants and going to cute cafes all the time. And there's this pressure to go out and do things, whereas I feel like there needs to be more of an expectation that doing nothing for a little bit is fine.
If it makes you happy, don't do it. Like it's totally reasonable to stay at home for a day and just do bed rot. Like,
Oh, I bed rot all the time. I just think I also feel guilty about it the
Oh, yeah.
whole time that I'm bed
but
rotting.
that's the problem. Why do we feel so guilty when clearly, because I'm a big person about like, okay, if I'm feeling tired, it's for a reason, because my body's tired. So if I feel like I need to bed rot, that's because my body's telling me like, I've had enough. I'm sorry. Like, you've done this, that. I need a day off. So why, people are now advertising these things of like, oh, listen to your body and do what's good for you, for your mental health. So why do we still feel really bad about bed rotting when it's what we need?
I don't know. I feel like it's like there's a bit of a dissonance there, because like there's the pressure to constantly be doing something, but then you're scrolling through and you're seeing the things that are pressuring you and you're like, oh, but this isn't really real. Like no one actually does this all the time 24/7. But then I think like subconsciously your brain might not fully grasp the fact that it's not a complete reality,
Yeah.
which is why you keep feeling guilty about it.
Comparisons.
It's the
Also, I
comparisons.
think it's really, it not hurts the most, because I think hurt isn't the correct word here, but I think it hits the most when you see your friends or people in your life, going about and doing these things and visiting these places, and you're like, wait, I'm in a similar, like, it's not of this faraway influencer in LA in a mansion with millions of dollars. Like, this is someone I know.
Yeah. I think that's worse than the influencers.
Than seeing people on TikTok, yeah.
Opening LinkedIn is such
Oh,
a
no.
I need to be in a certain like mental state to be like emotionally prepared
I'm never in
to
that
swipe
state.
through LinkedIn, because you're gonna be like behind in some of your lectures, and then you go on and half of your classmates are like posting.
Got this internship. Oh my gosh, so grateful. Like, shut up.
Like, take a listen to my first feature on the BBC, and I'm like, what the hell, guys?
No, but the thing is, I'm happy for them because obviously, like,
Oh, of
good job. Like, I
course.
know so much hard work went into that. But at the same time, I'm like, shit, I should be doing the same, if not better.
No, like, and I think there's just also, like, on top of the pressure to be, like, an interesting person who's, like, got, like, I was about to say who's got a personality. Please try to have personalities, guys. But, like, on top of the pressure to live, like, a fulfilling life,
Interesting life.
like, an interesting life outside of, like, career-wise, and, like,
Yeah.
go to have all these cool experiences and have all these, like, interesting things to do. There's also a pressure to simultaneously be like super, super ambitious and building your future like intensely at the same time. And I think growing up, there was like this understanding in school that like most people were either really focusing on their studying, or just really focusing on like sports and extracurriculars and like friends and social life. There wasn't really a balance that exists. But then once you know, you're an adult, it's like, well, actually, like, real life, you have to balance both somehow.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like balance is such a weird concept because, like, growing up, I used to do a lot of also, like, out of school activities, sports, arts, blah, blah, blah. But then also, my parents always wanted us to do really well in school. So there was that pressure. But then also the social aspect. So I feel like sometimes that's why I'm so tired, because I'm like, okay, I'm trying to do really well in uni. I'm trying to do really well in my hobbies, but then also I like going out and partying. And to fit that into 7 days a week is a bit unrealistic. And I feel like I'm still learning how to do that, because there's been so many times where I'm like, okay, well, I got the sports, but then I really should be doing uni work, or I really want to go out instead. But, you know, it's kind of this responsibility chart that I don't think anyone's fully grasped at this age.
I think, especially now, more and more exceptionalism gets touted a lot in our society and kind of shoved down your throat in the job market, with it rapidly becoming more competitive. There's been this flattening of the career curve where mid-career jobs aren't as prevalent as they used to be. So even the requirements for what would previously have been considered entry-level jobs have just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And there's been this flattening in career experience as opposed to performance. And then the same with academics, the same with social life, where everything is just like kind of blasted all over the web for everyone to see. There's this expectation for you to be exceptional at one thing or another and to consistently be exceptional at it. And then to then turn that into a facet through which to kind of market your life on. And I feel like growing up, it wasn't that bad. My parents never pushed me as hard as maybe they could have.
Academically, you mean, or just in other aspects?
Academically, but also just in general, they were very happy with me to let me explore what I wanted to do and what path I wanted to take. And now more and more, I kind of see the backlash of that, where I'm very happy with what I'm doing, but like as we were discussing earlier, I feel like I've fallen behind in a lot of areas. But I feel like there's also the understanding that comes with that of that's okay sometimes. It's okay to be, because statistically, as per the definition, most people will be somewhat average in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You don't have to stand head and shoulders above everybody else, because the 1% of the success that you see is going to be so concentrated on social media, because society loves to reward exceptionalism, which is absolutely fair in its own right. But at the same time, social media has created such an unrealistic standard in the social space, in the academic space, in the workspace, that I feel like is such a massive pressure point on so many people our age.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because it's pushing everyone to be exceptional, but when everyone becomes exceptional, that kind of defeats the purpose of being special, you know? Like, if everyone's...
It's like The Incredibles.
Yeah, but like, if everyone's doing all these great things, they cease to be
Great.
they cease to be great. They become the average. And then what, are we going to try to outdo even that and push more? Like, it's a vicious cycle.
I think it's interesting that both of you use the word exceptional, because one of the little things I have written down is that there's a new report by a group of Harvard researchers that showed, well, from the sample size that they took, 53% of young people felt a pressure to be, quote, exceptional and impressive throughout their achievements. And then 56% felt the pressure to constantly have a game plan for their future, or like for their academic. So I feel like it's interesting that I hadn't told you guys the quote, but used exactly the same
I
phrasing.
mean, it's nice to be called exceptional. I think, I'm just thinking now, if like one of my lecturers called my work exceptional, I'd feel really, really good about it.
I'd message my entire family about it, I think.
I'd brag.
Personally, I'd send it on the family group chat.
Would you
and
put
be
it on
like,
LinkedIn? Got called exceptional today.
Some people post like a lot of things on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Like I feel like there's like a balance there that we don't really know. Like, what are we posting? What are we not posting?
Also, I think just with journalism, this is what we all study, like an aspect of what we all study. And I think there's this notion that we need to get our big break now, you know. We need to get an article posted by the BBC. We need to go investigate fraud in the government or something, you know. And we have all these guests coming in, and it's good to hear from them because they are real people. So it's nice, yeah, they're in their 50s, 60s. But I feel like I always come out of these guest lectures with the notion of, I need to do that in the next year or two. Like, I need to uncover this huge story, get blackmailed by everyone, and become this big journalist.
Yeah, like I need to actually be put on a watch list by the government from how dangerous my investigative journalism
that's so
is.
unrealistic. These people that are coming in to talk to us, which interesting personalities, like I love listening to them, but I feel like I always get left with the feeling that that's what I need to be now, because I think in a lot of our classes, they also bring up the fact that, oh, I had a student that got published in her second year, or this student right after graduating went to work for The Guardian or this other big company and everyone knows her name now. And I'm like, well, fuck.
I think that's where, like, we're trying, like, when you reach this, like, stage where you're not you're not a child, you're not a teenager, but you're not really fully an adult yet. You're kind of, like, forming yourself to go out into, like, well, we all work, but, like, you get what I mean with that. How do you balance, like, being ambitious with just enjoying the stage of life that you're in right now and not letting those melt onto each other? And I think it's the pressure as well of, like, knowing that you, like, live in a very, very different circumstance to a lot of the success stories that you see, because the job market now is very, very different.
Yeah.
Especially for journalism. If anyone's not familiar, it's very highly competitive nowadays.
Also, it's changing. Social media wasn't a thing 40 years ago where these traditional journalists were, you know, being published on paper. And now it's anyone can be a journalist. You don't have to do a degree in journalism to become a journalist, which is a bit scary, saying that as someone who's pursuing a degree in journalism.
Who has a degree. But yeah.
Also, go.
No, go for it.
Sorry.
Guys, can we get a counter going for how many times we say balance and pressure in this episode?
Maybe.
I just realized that I think I used it like 3 times in one sentence. So
I mean, this is what it's all about. I mean, I'll use balance again and saying that people always quote the 20s as being the ages to explore, the time to explore, but then also everyone expects you to know what you're doing. Like you mentioned before, that a lot of people feel the pressure to have a plan and know what they're doing. But if we're in our 20s, aren't we supposed to figure that out? But I feel like not knowing is looked down upon now.
90% of the big breaks that happen aren't going to happen this early, and then
What?
another 90% of those are
What
going
do
to be
you mean?
through sheer luck. Like I've had this discussion with my parents because both of them operate in like the highest echelon of the humanitarian field. And I used to feel massive pressure to succeed as they have. And then I sat down and talked with my dad about career plans when he last visited me, and I hadn't known this up until I was almost 20. There was this half a decade period in his life where he was basically essentially broke and backpacking across random countries in Asia. I had no clue what was going on. This was when he was in his early 20s. Sorry for airing out your business, Craig.
Shout out, Craig.
But like he didn't have anything. He didn't have money, he didn't have experience, and he picked up a random job in like entry level humanitarian response analytics. Through sheer luck, he met one person and they gave him a shot, even though he didn't have the qualifications for it. He didn't have the usual degree you'd expect for it. And yeah, now he's working hand in hand with some of the most successful humanitarian NGOs out there.
Yeah, and I think parents is seeing your parents now.
Oh, and it came easier back then as
yeah,
well. I feel like is what I hear.
Yeah, but also like I talked to my mom a lot about it because she did a degree in engineering, but now she's not doing anything with that. But you know, at the age of 22, she was promoted to like a middle position, and obviously the times were different. She was living in just post-Soviet Ukraine, so that like times were rough. But like there's still that. I'm like, wait, you were 22 and you were already promoted somewhere in a company, whereas I'm turning 21 in this year and I don't really have a job. Like I have a job, but I'm not going to get promoted at it.
It's like the career bell curve has flattened out.
Yeah.
A lot of people I know either are working super, super high-end jobs in peak fields, or they're pursuing entry-level, just very standard employment. There's not so much of the middle ground that we would have maybe seen when our parents were our age.
Also, I think it's kind of this notion of, you know, you get a job and you work there for the rest of your life and you get promoted and promoted and promoted in the same company or in the same field. That's kind of beginning to be outdated because now
I have no intense on company loyalty. Once I get somewhere in a field and I can get a promotion somewhere else, I'm taking it immediately.
Yeah,
because
like
you're
I feel
not.
like we don't want this out there, guys.
Please hire me.
Just like imagine like someone looks you up after you apply for a job and you like write a whole paragraph about how you
They
in
should
love
try
with their
spelling my
company.
name first and then we'll see.
If you've listened to 3 episodes of my university podcast while trying to hire me, thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no, but I think staying in the same field, that's understandable because if that's what you're passionate about, then do it. But staying like in the like just again using the example of my parents, it's like staying in the same company for, I think my mom's been in the same company for 18 years. Yeah, ever since my sister was born. So like that's crazy. And this company has taken us across countries, continents, schools, everything. But same company, like I can't imagine that for myself.
I think my dad's worked with the same hospital like chain group because my dad's a neurosurgeon.
We're just plugging your parents now. I
I feel like we're all just like hyping up our parents.
Elena, if you listen to this, hi.
We love you guys. Thank you for sending us to London
Yeah.
and allowing us to meet. I think my dad's been working with the same hospital group for like coming up on like 15, 16 years maybe. Even more. Oh God. I think like 15 or 16 years. I don't know how he does it. Like I stayed in the same school for 10 years and by the end of it I was so sick of everyone there. Not like people. I loved my friends, but like teachers
being
and
in
stuff.
the
Like
same
the
environment
routine was just a bit
yeah.
insane. I think what's hard for me to grasp is like a lot of these stories of like the exceptional, like, you know, the people who do the TED Talks, right? They always tell you that like they started out doing something completely different. Like I saw a talk of this really famous journalist from Bloomberg, she's one of their TV reporters, and she started out as a model for like 5 or 6 years, and then she did like a writing course, and then like a summer thing, and then an internship, and then somehow worked her way into Bloomberg, and then somehow worked her way from like a research type job to like a writing job to then coming on as a guest on TV to then becoming a lead reporter. And it was like
I feel like that's a lot more approachable than like I lived under a bridge and now I run a
Yeah.
multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
Here's how I did it. And you can do it too.
In 5 minutes video.
Here's how you can become a billionaire in 5 minutes. But like it's like a 15-year journey.
That's
and like
scary.
that's so scary because then but that's the stories you hear about like these exceptional people. But then you're like trying to apply for an internship and they're like, well,
Yeah.
currently do you have
Any experience.
any experience in this exact field, in this exact job description for this exact set of skills? And you're like, no, but I've got like all these transferable skills. We don't care about your
Yeah.
transferable skills.
Yeah, with applications, it's always the how many like years do you have with like editing experience? And I'm like 1 or 2, and I always feel so bad putting 1 or 2 because I'm like I feel like I need to put down like 15, but who cares? I've been in live for 20 years, you know.
Does my like 5th grade garage band work?
Oh my
Does
gosh,
that count?
iMovie should count. iMovie should.
The
count.
expectations are crazy.
Like does like my like 12-year-old YouTube channel count as like content
Yeah.
creation
Like
experience? Do I
I'm
go all
I'm
the way
20,
back
bro.
then?
No, I haven't reported in wartime Yugoslavia. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Bite me.
Yeah, but I think it's nice to know that people feel the same way. So it's nice to know that you're not the only one in this constant state of worry and anxiety, because when you realize that everyone's feeling that way, you kind of, it's really bad that everyone's feeling the same way because our generation just shouldn't have to. But when you think about it, if everyone's in the same position, that means 1, you can talk to them about it, and 2, maybe you're doing just fine. Like maybe you don't need to be exceptional, because who is there? Well, first, who's there to tell you you're exceptional? You just need to be exceptional for yourself at the end of the day. And this is very motivational, but like I mean it, because
it's true.
think about your own abilities, and you don't need someone older. You don't need someone on Instagram. You don't need anyone else to tell you your own worth. You just need to be you.
And I think it's also important to remember that like people also live the same style of lives as you do, in the sense that the people that are posting these incredible achievements on LinkedIn are probably also receiving rejections from internships that they've applied for just the same as you. And the same way that when you get a cool opportunity, you share it, that's the same life that they're living as well.
Yeah.
So it's not to be discouraged by people's achievements. It's just realizing that there's maybe another avenue that you haven't looked into. Because, at the core of it, everyone's just trying their best to do okay. And it's not realistic to assume that everyone's best is their normal.
Yeah, nobody ever puts down, nobody ever markets the times when they've fallen. People always just show when they've done really well and when they've gotten up and soared and everything. But I think it's, as a society, we need to realize that everyone has those falls. And even if we don't put them out there on social media, that doesn't mean they don't exist.
I think even Nara Smith orders like
Takeout.
burger, like
Yeah.
takeout at 2 a.m. I'd like to think
She
so.
is just human after all,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
It
think.
is okay to be normal, and it's okay to exceed at just being you.
Fuck
And
being exceptional.
as Ernest Hemingway once said, there is nothing noble in being superior to your fellow man, and true nobility is being superior to your former self.
And that's the takeaway from this episode.
And that was our episode for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was 20s in Transit. I'm Nourhan.
I'm Zhenia.
And I'm Kim.
And tune in again next week for a discussion on third spaces and finding your place in the city.
You're
I'm in this bitch right now.